We are counting down the top 15 greatest rock guitarists of all time, a definitive ranking built on innovation, unmistakable tone, and the power to inspire generations. From modern trailblazers with raw, minimalist sounds to the legends who redefined technique, some of these names will surprise even devoted fans. Which guitarist transformed the instrument the most? Let us kick off our countdown with number 15. Jack White burst onto the scene with the White Stripes, wielding a battered 1964 Airline Rezo glass guitar and a sound that felt like it could peel the paint off the walls. He built his reputation on raw, analog recordings, tracking to 8-track tape, favoring single-mic drum kits and guitar solos that hit like a punch. While most artists chased digital clarity, White doubled down on imperfection, using cheap gear and minimal overdubs to capture every squeak and scrape. His breakout moment came with the unmistakable riff of Seven Nation Army, a song that turned a simple fuzzed-out melody into an anthem for stadiums and street protests alike. White's deliberate embrace of lo-fi technique and analog grit sparked a garage rock revival in the early 2000s, inspiring a wave of indie bands to pick up old gear and chase that same urgent, unvarnished energy. Johnny Marr reimagined what an electric guitar could do in a pop band. With the Smiths, he built shimmering soundscapes out of chiming Rickenbacker arpeggios. Never content to just strum chords, he wove open strings and shifting tunings into bright melodic textures that felt both nostalgic and new. On tracks like This Charming Man, Marr's jangly lines ring out, each note carefully placed to support the song rather than steal the spotlight. He often tuned his Rickenbacker 330 down for extra resonance, a trick he revealed in a 1986 NME interview, chasing a sound that would ripple through British music for decades. Marr's approach became the blueprint for Britpop and indie guitarists, influencing bands like Oasis and Radiohead. By turning rhythm guitar into a melodic force, he bridged the gap between raw garage rock and the lush, sophisticated arranging that would follow. Lindsey Buckingham brought a new kind of precision to rock guitar, shaping the sound of Fleetwood Mac from behind both the strings and the mixing board. He used his fingers instead of a pick, driving songs like Go Your Own Way with a percussive finger-picked rhythm that cut through the band's lush arrangements. In the studio, Buckingham became known for his inventive layering, taping a microphone directly to his amplifier to capture every subtle scrape and slap, then stacking multiple guitar tracks until the songs felt almost sculpted. This approach turned the guitar into both a rhythm section and a melodic lead, giving tracks on Rumors their signature pulse and clarity. Buckingham's blend of folk-inspired fingerstyle and pop production set a new standard for how the guitar could shape a band's entire sound, influencing generations of producer-guitarists to come. Paul Simon's guitar work extends far beyond folk revival, reaching into the fabric of global pop. His intricate fingerpicking, heard in early classics like The Boxer, lays the groundwork, but it's the Graceland sessions in Johannesburg that expand the palette. In 1985, Simon traveled to apartheid South Africa, collaborating with local musicians despite a cultural boycott. The resulting album Graceland fuses American acoustic guitar with township grooves, introducing millions to mbaqanga rhythms and Ladysmith Black Mambazo's harmonies. This cross-cultural experiment, documented in a BBC interview, sparked both acclaim and controversy. Some praised the musical bridge, others criticized the breach of the boycott. Yet, the acoustic lines on tracks like Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes became a blueprint for world music crossover in pop. Simon's legacy is not just in technical mastery, but in reshaping what and who rock guitar could sound like. John Frusciante's guitar work with the Red Hot Chili Peppers stands apart for what he leaves out as much as what he plays. On Under the Bridge, his clean, ringing arpeggios drift through the verses, each note carefully spaced, letting silence and melody carry the emotion. Frusciante has said in Guitar World interviews that he deliberately avoided flashy solos or dense riffs, aiming instead for a kind of melodic restraint that would let the song breathe. During the Californication sessions in 1999, he returned to the band after years away, bringing a renewed focus on clarity and touch, switching between shimmering clean passages and bursts of distortion only when the song demanded it. This approach, rooted in punk and funk influences, redefined what a rock guitarist could do in the alt-rock era. This comeback not only revitalized the band, but set a new standard for emotional phrasing, proving that sometimes the most powerful statement is knowing when to hold back. Randy Rhoads exploded onto the metal scene with a sound that felt both ancient and futuristic. Trained in classical guitar from childhood, he brought Baroque scales and precise alternate picking into Ozzy Osbourne's band, turning tracks like Crazy Train into showcases of technical brilliance. Rhoads didn't just play fast. He wove classical motifs and sweeping arpeggios into solos that sounded like symphonic movements, not just rock licks. His use of sweep picking, especially in live renditions of Suicide Solution, set a new technical benchmark for metal guitarists. In interviews, Ozzy described Rhoads as obsessed with practice, often seen backstage with a metronome, refining runs that fused Bach with heavy distortion. Although his career was cut short by a plane crash at just 25, Rhoads' legacy endures in every guitarist who blends classical discipline with the raw power of metal. Keith Richards carved out a place in rock history as the master riff, not the solo. He captured the main hook for I Can't Get No Satisfaction on a cheap cassette recorder, half asleep in a Florida motel, using a Maestro fuzzbox to push the guitar into new distorted territory. That raw, buzzing riff became the Stones' signature, and Richards' approach to rhythm guitar turned the engine room into the spotlight. Instead of chasing complex leads, he built songs on grooves, leaning on open G tuning to give tracks like Start Me Up their swagger and bite. Richards has called the open G his secret weapon, removing the sixth string and letting the chords ring out with a punch that is unmistakably his own. In his autobiography, he describes the guitar as a tool for creating feel, not just flash, a philosophy that has shaped generations of rhythm players. Richards' riffs are more than catchy. They are the backbone of rock's greatest anthems. Pete Townshend brought a new level of force to rock guitar, wielding his instrument like a sledgehammer on stage with The Who. His windmill strum, an arm swinging in a wide theatrical arc, became as recognizable as any riff, channeling the raw energy of the band straight into the crowd. Townshend didn't invent the power chord, but on tracks like My Generation and Baba O'Reilly, he made it the backbone of stadium rock, stacking simple ringing fifths into a wall of sound that could fill any venue. Offstage, he pushed boundaries as a songwriter, building rock operas like Tommy and Quadrophenia and blending guitar with synthesizers long before it was standard. On stage, he smashed guitars and amps with calculated abandon, turning destruction into performance art. Townshend's fusion of rhythm, spectacle, and songwriting transformed what it meant to be a guitarist, proving that sometimes the most powerful statements are made with a single chord and a fearless swing. David Gilmour's guitar work with Pink Floyd is a masterclass in restraint and expression. On the song Comfortably Numb, he built his solos from multiple takes, searching for the perfect phrase to carry the emotion of the song. Instead of racing through notes, Gilmour let each one ring out, using sustain and silence as part of his vocabulary. His signature sound often came from pairing a big muff pedal with a high-watt amp, creating a thick, singing tone that seemed to hang in the air. Gilmour's approach was about more than technical skill. It was about crafting atmosphere and telling a story with melody. The Pulse concert footage captures this, showing how he could fill an arena with just a handful of carefully chosen notes. His legacy is not built on speed or the flash, but on the ability to make a single note say everything. Eric Clapton's journey through the Yardbirds, Cream, and Derek and the Dominos brought the blues to the center of rock's universe. His guitar voice is unmistakable, a slow, bending phrase that draws from B.B. King and Robert Johnson, yet speaks in its own language. Clapton's woman tone, achieved by rolling back the tone knob on his Gibson and pushing his Marshall amp, gave Cream's live version of Crossroads its singing, vocal quality. But his signature sound truly crystallized with Blackie. The Stratocaster he built himself in 1970 by combining parts from 3 vintage Fenders. This guitar became his companion through the most iconic moments of his solo career, shaping hits like Layla and Wonderful Tonight. Clapton's dedication to blues phrasing and touch didn't just honor tradition. It made the blues a permanent foundation for mainstream rock, inspiring generations to chase that same soulful clarity. Prince shattered every boundary between genres, wielding his guitar as both a weapon and a brush. On stage, he could pivot from a tight funk groove to a searing rock solo in the same breath, never more electrifying than during the legendary 1985 Syracuse performance of Purple Rain. That night, he stretched the song's closing solo far beyond the studio version, bending notes until they sounded like a voice, wringing emotion from every sustained phrase. His Hohner Mad Cat Telecaster and his custom-built Cloud guitar became extensions of his hands, each chosen for its unique tone and stage presence. Prince did not just play the guitar, he rearranged his entire set on the fly, often signaling the band mid-song to follow wherever his inspiration led. In a Vanity Fair interview, he described the guitar as his other voice, one that could cry, scream, or whisper depending on the moment. By fusing rock, funk, and R&B into something unmistakably his own, Prince proved that virtuosity did not have to fit inside any one genre. His impact rippled through pop, inspiring everyone from Lenny Kravitz to John Mayer to rethink what a pop guitar hero could be. The extended Purple Rain solos remain a masterclass in live reinvention, cementing Prince's place in the top 5 for both technical brilliance and cultural influence. Jimmy Page rewrote the rulebook for rock guitar by making the studio his playground and the riff his weapon of choice. Before Led Zeppelin, he was already a sought-after session guitarist in London, playing on countless hits behind the scenes. But it was with Zeppelin that Page's vision truly exploded. He treated the recording studio as an instrument, layering guitar parts like an orchestra and experimenting with techniques few had tried before. On tracks like Stairway to Heaven, he stacked multiple overdubs, each with its own tone and texture, building solos that felt almost symphonic. Page did not just rely on standard tunings. He explored alternate setups and even played with a violin bow, coaxing eerie, otherworldly sounds from his Les Paul. One of his signature innovations, reverse echo, involved recording the reverb before the note itself, creating a haunting swelling effect that became a Zeppelin hallmark. His riffs, think Whole Lotta Love and Black Dog, are instantly recognizable, but it is the way he sculpted them in the studio that set a new bar for hard rock. Page's blend of raw power and production wizardry inspired generations to see the guitar as more than just an instrument. It became a tool for limitless sonic creation. Brian May's journey to rock royalty began in a small English workshop, where he and his father built the Red Special from fireplace mantle wood and bicycle parts. This homemade guitar, finished in 1964, would go on to shape the sound of Queen. Instead of a plastic pick, May used a British sixpence coin, giving each note a sharp metallic edge. The Red Special's unique wiring and hand-carved body allowed him to create harmonized leads and layered textures that felt almost orchestral. On Bohemian Rhapsody, May recorded multiple guitar parts, stacking them to form what he called a guitar choir, a technique that turned a single instrument into a symphony. His approach was not just about playing solos. It was about expanding the guitar's voice, weaving it into every corner of the song. The Red Special became more than a guitar. It was a laboratory for new sounds. May's engineering background fueled constant tinkering, from custom amp settings to the way he shaped feedback and sustain. By building his own tools and inventing new techniques, Brian May proved that the guitar could be as expressive and complex as any orchestra, inspiring generations to see the instrument as a canvas for invention. Eddie Van Halen changed the rules of rock guitar almost overnight. In 1978, the world heard Eruption, a solo that sounded like a spaceship taking off, packed into less than 2 minutes. What most listeners didn't know was that Eruption started as a home demo, recorded for fun and never meant for the album. But when the band's producer stumbled on the tape, he insisted it be included. Eddie's hands danced across the neck, tapping out notes with both hands, introducing two-hand tapping to the mainstream, and leaving guitarists everywhere scrambling to catch up. The sound itself came from a guitar he built in his garage, the Frankenstrat. Eddie pieced it together from a $50 body and a $75 neck, wiring in a single humbucker pickup and spray painting it with masking tape stripes. This hybrid wasn't just about looks. It let him chase what he called the brown sound, a thick, warm distortion that became his signature. Guitar World's oral history details how he'd tinker for hours, swapping parts and rewiring circuits until every note felt explosive. With Eruption and the Frankenstrat, Eddie didn't just play guitar, he reinvented it, setting a new technical peak for rock and inspiring a generation of shredders. Only one name remains above him in the countdown, but for many, Eddie Van Halen defined what a modern guitar hero could be. Jimi Hendrix did not just play the electric guitar, he reinvented what it could be. When he took the stage at Woodstock in August 1969, he transformed the national anthem into a swirling wave of feedback, distortion, and wah-wah, bending every note into something raw and unmistakably new. His white Fender Stratocaster, strung upside down for his left hand, became a tool for sculpting sound, not just playing it. Hendrix treated his Marshall amps as living instruments, coaxing wild, sustained feedback by turning the volume to 10 and moving his guitar in and out of the sonic blast. Roger Mayer, the electronics wizard behind many of Hendrix's effects, built custom fuzz, face, and Octavia pedals that let him twist the guitar's voice even further, stretching it into howls, whispers, and explosions of color. The Univibe pedal, inspired by the swirling sound of a Leslie speaker, gave tracks like Machine Gun their shifting, liquid texture. But it was not just the gear. Hendrix's hands brought new vocabulary to rock, thumb-over-the-neck chords, double stops, and blues runs that seemed to come from another planet. He played with a rhythmic sense rooted in R and B and soul, then layered in psychedelic fire. In the studio, he pushed boundaries with engineer Eddie Kramer, stacking guitar tracks, experimenting with backwards tape, and using the recording console as a creative weapon. Hendrix's influence stretches across every genre that followed. Every rock guitarist, whether chasing the wildest feedback or the subtlest phrasing, owes something to the ground he broke. His impact is not measured just in solos or records sold, but in the way he made the guitar a voice for protest, joy, and possibility. The Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock remains one of the most iconic moments in music history, a single player channeling the chaos and hope of an entire generation through 6 strings and a wall of sound. Hendrix's legacy is more than innovation. It is total transformation. No one before or since has changed the instrument so completely. That is why, 5 decades on, he still stands alone at number 1. Across all 15 guitarists, one pattern dominates. True greatness comes from forging a distinct voice, not just technical mastery. Whether bending genres or inventing new sounds, each rewrote what rock guitar could be. Their influence echoes in every riff today. In rock, originality, not imitation, shapes the future and keeps the music alive.